All right, Shalom. First and foremost, only of all praises, honor, and glory. Unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Krakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutation to the Hakim, to the elect that is scattered throughout the four corners of this earth, pushing the truth and faith and sincerity. All right, now this lesson is going to be entitled, Divine Intervention. All right, because, we're reading this chapter, right? Acts 12th chapter, right? When you look at Peter's situation, all right, to outsiders, right, and to, unbelievers and whatever, right, it would seem that, there was no hope, okay, that there was no type of salvation, and, right, and no way out of it, okay, but, hey, the Lord will basically show up, all right, for the believers, right, for the ones who, putting their lives on the line, all right, for this truth, all right, standing stiffly, right, for his name. Okay. And if we are departing from evil, if we are walking, right, in the way, right, that we should walk in this world, right, measuring up, right, to the stature of Yahweh Shai, all right, man, we shouldn't be worried about anything. Okay. We should expect, right, deliverance, right, and intervention, right, that divine intervention, right, from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. So this is Acts 12 and 1. It says, now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church, and he killed James, the brother of John, with a sword. All right. So James actually got put to death. Okay. And I don't mean he wicked. All right. That was just his lot. All right. And that can be the lot of any one of us. Okay. And the Lord has put the spirit upon you to be able to deal with that. All right. It doesn't mean the Lord forsook you. Okay. But he will be with you. Like Yahweh Shai said, well, he's going to be with us right to the end of the world, right, in all of our moments. All right. That's a great thing, right? To, lose your life for the Lord. All right. I mean, he put his life down for us. Okay. He didn't, like the scriptures say, you'd be one of the first ones to, to rise, right? To be with Yahweh Shai. Okay. But it says, and because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread, right? Which is basically, the Passover. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. All right. And now Easter, that's referring to the Passover. All right. Not this, pagan shit, right, that they got today. All right. This was inserted, right? They weren't calling that Easter, bro. All right. But going to this word quaternions. All right. It says a guard consisting of 4 soldiers. For among the Romans, this was the usual number of the guard to which the custody of captives and prisoners was entrusted. 2 soldiers were confined with the prisoner, and 2 kept guard outside. 4 quaternions of soldiers would be used to guard one all night, 1 for each of the 4 night watches. So this was a complete watch, bro. It was people that was on this, bro, on this job, watching, right? They said 2 of the soldiers were confined with the prisoner. So, bro, it's like, there ain't no way to get out of this, bro. There is no way. You cannot escape this. All right, so he was heavily guarded. Okay? Just think about that, bro. Having, like, soldiers, bro, just all around you, bro, watching you. All right? Because he was about to get put to death. It was like, bro, and it was like, this is going to happen. So these people were watching him to make sure that these things happen. All right. That he didn't escape. Okay. So it would seem that, hey man, this was a very bad, situation. All right. And that nothing could happen but what's being attended to done, being done to him. Okay. But it says Peter therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church until the Most High for him. Right. So the believers were praying. All right. What does scripture say about the prayer, of the righteous availeth much. Okay. So these this is working, right? The Most High hears those prayers. Okay. It says, and when Herod would have brought him forth the same night, Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with two chains, and the keepers before the door kept the prison. Right. So that's like it says, the quarter ends, you will have two chained to them, right, and two will be standing outside watching. All right. So it was basically impossible for anybody to escape that. For man, of course. As the scriptures say, it's nothing impossible with the Lord. It says, and behold, the angel of the Lord came upon him, and a light shined in the prison, and he smote Peter on the side and raised him up, saying, arise up quickly. And his chains fell off from his hands. Right. So this is the angel showed up, bro. Right. And this so-called, crazy situation, bro. This is like, bro, a normal person couldn't get out of this. All right. So the Lord intervened. Because the man, what could a man do? It says, arise up quickly, and the chains fell off of his hands. All right, he didn't have no key for that. They just said that the chains fell off. It said, and the angel said unto him, gird thyself and bind on thy sandals. And so he did. And he said unto him, cast thy garment about thee and follow me. And he went out and followed him, and was not that it was true which was done by the angel, but thought he saw a vision. Right. So he thought it was tripping. Like, nah, this is a vision. I'm just, the Lord showing me something. Let me try to get the understanding from this. All right. This is a vision. All right. And remember, bro, he was chained next to two people. And they stayed there watching you. Right. No, they can fall asleep. I mean, because look, you trained to them, so you can't go nowhere. Right. But the angel came and got him out of that situation. Right. The chains fell. So usually, people, will wake up like, hold on, what's going on? Right. But it's not saying that, bro. So no, hey, the Lord could probably put the spirit of deep sleep upon them, bro. So they couldn't hear nothing toward to the world. They moving silent. All right. It says, when they were past the first and the second ward, they came unto the iron gate which leadeth unto the city, which opened to them of his own accord. And they went out and passed on through one street, and forthwith the angel departed from him. Now let's look at the reward, right? I'm just curious what it will say. Fuleke. A guard watching and keeping watch, a person keeping watch, a guard of the place where captives are kept, a prison, of the time of night during which guard was kept, a watch, a period of time during which part of the guard was on duty. Right. So basically, I guess sections of the prison. Okay. And they walked through two of them. Okay. Two of them. And wasn't seen. Now, how is that? How is that, right? It would seem impossible to man. Okay. Anybody else try to do this, bro. A man try to do, you will be caught. You wouldn't even make it this far, honestly. You wouldn't make it this far. You could if you had people, the soldiers and on and somebody conspire, like how they be doing on the movies and shit. All right, but that only goes so far, anyways. Okay, well, we talking about divine intervention, though, the Lord showing up, bro, right? By way of angels, all right? It says, we reading this in the NLT. It says they passed the first and the second guard post and came to the iron gate leading to the city and just opened for them all by itself. All right. So I'm pretty sure that it had to be open, right? That this gate had to be opened by a particular, soldier, right? That had the authority to do it. Okay. And even then, it's a big ass gate. So it's like, bro, somebody had to hear that. Somebody would hear, you would think. And it's just like I said, any regular person, bro, would have been caught. They would have seen you coming through those wars. The gate had to be seen like opening. Like we have to have seen. I'm sorry, I just woke up. I can't really put my words together correctly. But it is what it is, man. Brothers understand. But right, somebody had to see that though. Somebody would see that. All right, that's like obvious. All right, but the Lord had something happen to where it wasn't so obvious. Bro, that could have either been invisible, whatever, however, it could have happened. Everybody could have been asleep, which you ain't even supposed to be asleep on the watch. So I doubt everybody was asleep. So, bro, something miraculous had to happen, bro. All right. It says, and when Peter came to himself, he said, now I know with surety that the Lord had sent his angel and had delivered me out of the hand of Herod from all the expectation of the people of the Jews. So he came to himself. He came to realize that, oh no, this was the Lord sent the angel to me, bro. Like, hold on, bro. I'm outside of the prison. No way. You see, that's the Lord. He probably start praising Yahweh or Yahweh Bashim Yahweh, right? Bro, he got delivered from death. Because he probably was just preparing for it or whatever. Because what just happened to James. So like, hey, man, this could possibly be my lot too. But the Lord like, nope. I ain't give authority on that. Because the Lord got to sanction it, right? And approve of that. If the Lord don't approve of that, it ain't gonna happen, no matter what people's intentions are for you. All right. It's in Psalm 34:7. The angel of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai encampeth round about them that fear him and delivereth them. So those who fear the Lord, you got angels protecting you, right? And fearing the Lord, meaning you're doing what he said to do. Because that's what that fear is gonna do. Right? It's like always Sirach, the first chapter. The fear of the Lord driveth away sins. All right, if you fear him, you're gonna do what he say. Right? And he gonna have your back. Okay. Let's see. Matthew 18:10. Take heed that you despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. All right. So just talking about the believers, right? That they have angels, right, which is before the Most High. All right. So, we always hear people, oh, guardian angels, this, guardian angels, that. Well, that's true for the elect, for the believers. Okay. Just because you can't see them don't mean anything. Okay. Do you remember the story with Elisha, all right, and the servant, when he had to open his eyes to see, right, the chariots? Okay. If I'm not mistaken, that was Elisha. All right. But yeah, nevertheless, we had to open his servant's eyes. All right. To see that. To see the army in heaven. So they are there, right? Hey, in that day, bro, they're gonna reveal themselves. However, the most I want to happen in your story, of course, right? But they gonna be protecting. All right. Hebrews, the first chapter, said that they are sent forth to minister, right, for the believers, roughly paraphrasing. All right. Romans 15:4, for several things were written aforetime were written for all learning, that we through patience to comfort the scriptures might have hope. So you're supposed to read that and have hope, because it was written for us. Those things happen for us. All right, to show us that the Lord can show up for you, show up for us. Okay. And even when the situation may seem impossible, all right, that there's no escape, all right, the Lord will make a way. The Lord is going to show up, okay, and deliver, okay. That's why you got to go through these scriptures and read accounts of deliverance, all right. Read accounts of men having to lean on the Lord, all right, because when you're in particular situations, you're not supposed to give up. You're not supposed to be faint-hearted, get weak, all right. Just lean upon Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. All right, so that's a lesson. I was just edifying with that. I'm going to say shalom.